We've had our blunt. It's time to go into business beyond blunt.
Yes, sir.
On the show today, we have the one and only Mr. Tahir, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Tahir Johnson, ladies and gentlemen. Tahir is the CEO and owner of SimplyPureTrenton. He also has served as the Director of Social Equity and Inclusion for the Marijuana Policy Project and the United States Cannabis Council. And he often refers to himself as Mr. Tahdiddy, ladies and gentlemen.
That's me for sure.
What's going on? So on today, we want to talk about what DEI is in the cannabis field and what DEI is in general. So from your experience and from your background, can you explain to us what DEI is?
Sure. So DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I won't give a textbook definition, but I like to make things simple. Diversity is, making sure that you have all types of people, right? That's talking about, diversity as in male, female, gender, sex, orientation, all those things. Diversity makes us stronger because you have multiple different opinions, insights of all different people. Equity is trying to make sure that all people can be a part of the conversation, even those that typically may not have a voice. A lot of my focus has been on racial equity because minorities, I guess, not only in cannabis and the country have been, typically disenfranchised, but in cannabis we see where we have, again, a multi-billion-dollar industry, $26 billion in sales last year, but African Americans own less than 2% of it, while being 4 times more likely to be arrested for cannabis. So trying to have, as we build an industry, make sure that those folks are included. Inclusion, as I ended the last sentence with inclusion, again, equity is like making sure those groups that are typically disenfranchised are a part of it and have part ownership. And the inclusion is making sure that, again, all those folks that everybody's included in the conversation. But inclusion is not just allowing you to come to the party, right? I think inclusion is when you're actually welcomed, you're given opportunity. So in short, diversity, equity, and inclusion is really work to try to make sure that, like I said, everybody has an opportunity, and then everybody can be thriving, and everybody can, and I think it benefits people. It benefits everybody on all sides of the equation because we're all stronger and learn together. And again, in cannabis, some of those statistics, like I said, the work that I've been around has been about opening those opportunities, trying to make sure that that's done, not only in policy, but then also actually in practice, business, and like both sides of the coin. Hope I answered that right.
Right. Which goes right into it. Business Beyond the Blank is a platform that highlights and spotlights the industry, professionals, and ancillary opportunities in the cannabis industry. And it really is a discussion on how Black and brown people can enter into an industry that has for decades plagued them in a sort of a way, by not allowing them to an industry that has ruined their lives for pretty much majority of their years, as far as the war on drugs goes. So I love the fact that you're including everyone is from both sides of the coin. So from your experience on the ancillary side of things, what do you see as a way for Black and brown people to get into the industry?
Well, I think in terms of ancillary, it really is that there's a whole ecosystem that exists in cannabis, in terms of goods and services, whether that's like some of the people that I've had to deal with over the past couple of weeks have been attorneys, contractors, marketing folks, all types of communications, technology, and a lot of them are cannabis specific folks. So as this industry grows, you can develop a niche. And if you already have one of these types of specialties to get into the industry, some of the benefits of that are you don't have as many regulatory hurdles. There's not as much scarcity as like applying for a license. But then also you can learn. I've actually been working in the ancillary cannabis industry for the past 4 years. And that experience that I've had wearing a number of different hats has been the best experience to prepare me for where I am now. So I would say that's a huge benefit, regardless of what your expertise is, given what cannabis is is in the economy and like this whole new market opening up. I would be trying to figure out how you can apply those skills to this in some way, type, or form, regardless of what you do.
Right. So they mean all of those professional type jobs are still needed because it's still a regular industry. Well, it has to be treated like it's a regular industry, like every other industry is. Like everyone will still need those exact same things. So let me ask you this: why or what does DEI look like in cannabis, and why is this important?
So in cannabis, I think that what it currently looks like, I think is not. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of work to be done, right? I think what it would look like is that there would be ownership from the communities that have been most harmed by the war on drugs, as we talk about cannabis specifically. So I know that black folks, Latino folks, in our communities, they've been policing us for years. I think it's very important that as we have cannabis businesses, and shout out to many new states that are actually doing the work to achieve it. Like I'm super proud of New Jersey. Myself, a lot of other advocates were super active in trying to make sure that we had an equitable market. And now I'm sitting here inside my dispensary. Across the bridge in New York, a lot of work the same way, like black and brown people being awarded licenses. And so, I think the future, I'm definitely hopeful for what the future looks like, because as it seems like people are starting to understand, and it's even completely different from when I first started and got into this in 2018. Like people were starting to talk about social equity, but it was kind of like a side thing. It really wasn't, and it wasn't in action, right? Like, so, it just really is it's a bit, we've already come a long way in these couple of years. And like I said, there's still a long way to go, but I'm confident and I'm hopeful.
So you just touched on two key things. What do you believe the ideal equitable market industry should look like or does look like?
Yeah. So one of the most important things is low barriers to entry. For example, using my personal experience here now in New Jersey, to apply for the license this time around, 2022. My application fee was $200. If somebody was a micro, they could be as low as $100. In 2019, to apply for a license, it was $20,000. So imagine paying $200 versus $20,000, right? So low barriers to entry. In terms of those barriers to entry, real estate can be another one of those. Before a lot of times you're required to have property versus this time around, you weren't required to have properties to submit an application. And that actually, allows more people to submit and, be approved, because when it comes to trying to buy real estate and cannabis being federally illegal, you can't use a mortgage to purchase a property. It can be hard to find the type of real estate. So allowing people to not have to pay money for real estate in advance to apply removed another huge barrier to entry. So that was another important thing. Not having caps on licenses is another thing that makes a big difference, right? Like if there's limited opportunities, if you have multiple people vying for 5 licenses, and this is really how it is. Like in 2019 in Maryland, when I applied, there was 4 cultivation licenses, 10 processing licenses. So you have all these people vying for there's limited opportunity. How are we going to create equity really in a broad way when there's a limited opportunity and people that can take advantage of that? Another thing that's important is, so now when we talk about cannabis and the revenue that's going to be created from it, and we have these businesses, right? Like, where's that money going to go? Where's it going to go? The tax revenue, we're talking about millions of dollars being made in the state, billions of dollars being made. Like, that money going back to those same communities that were being over policed, that have been really harmed by the war on drugs is essential. But then also on that same note is people from those same communities being able to own businesses. So people that have had previous cannabis charges, and again, those same minority groups that haven't had opportunities to, typically be a part of the business, but especially the ones that have been, had to face this in their community should all be a part of it. Those are kind of some of the keys. Access to capital to help people get started, business training, education, technical training, like the basics, because not only are you opening a business, like a highly regulated business, so there's this whole set of challenges with that, but just a business in general. So making sure people can be educated to be prepared for the opportunity. All of those are part of it. But then even not just ownership, but even even a seat at the table, right? Even a company, going back to diversity and the value of it, and that was part of what I wanted to accomplish with the internship program, was having people of color, minorities, diverse people, women, all of that stuff, even as a part of other corporations, because it's not exclusive where, only a minority company is focused on, social equity or diversity and minority issues, where it benefits us all and we're all focused on it. So that, that's kind of the goal.
Right. So we keep throwing around this term social equity. Social equity is social equity. What is social equity? We know what that is.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, another plain and simple definition as it applies to cannabis. So social equity in cannabis is ensuring that people who are, from those communities that have been most harmed by the war on drugs have opportunities to participate in and benefit, from cannabis legalization, from an ownership aspect, from a community repair aspect, from a health equity aspect, in a lot of different ways. It's now taken that this cannabis legalization that has been a tool of harm, like where cannabis prohibition was a tool of harm, replacing that with opportunity, with the new legalization and industry that's being built in cannabis.
So that would go to further better the surrounding communities and those impacted, correct?
Absolutely. Amen.
So to play devil's advocate, what if that happens and someone says we're now giving certain convicts licenses to go run businesses? What is your thoughts on that, on those who say those things?
Well, I think that is, for one, making sure that people can be prepared for the opportunity is essential. So making sure that we have a system to have a system to help train and prepare them. But two, we're talking about people, especially as we talk about cannabis prohibition, people who may have charges or, a record or something for something that should have never been illegal in the first place. So that's kind of the answer to that. Right. I think we can agree that, especially with what's known out there now, what we've been told, or a lot of us, what we know about cannabis has been a lie. The fact that cannabis was illegal in the first place was built on racism. And so as we're starting to learn and wake up, the fact that somebody may be have a previous record for cannabis shouldn't be something that disqualifies them for anything. They shouldn't have had that in the first place.
Right. I totally agree with you. And from the thoughts that we've been hearing is that advocacy is so important. Could you speak on some of the advocacy work that you do?
Yeah. So first, I'll say, if you're not a part of the conversation, it's going to be had, right? The conversation is going to be had. So it's important to be knowledgeable of what's going on and to be able to provide your input. And so a lot of my work has been really centered on trying to accomplish that, to try to make sure that we can have a voice and policy that's being made at the state and federal level, that we can have representation across the cannabis industry within organizations, within companies, within ownership, that people can be educated, both people in the industry, on how diversity can be of value, but then folks outside the industry on the opportunity that exists within cannabis. And I think also in advocacy, being an ambassador of kind of, showing just showing people what can be possible when you give folks opportunities and allow to open up the door and like what we can achieve and what we can do. And again, it's been a number of different ways. Like I said, the policy side, and for me, I think it's been a career of service, where like I've always just wanted to make a difference and hope that all these little things add up, and they've made an impact. Whether it's been, I mean, one of the advocacy, I guess, go to answer the question even deeper. One of the biggest things that I've always loved to do and always wanted to do is have conversations around cannabis in places where it never would exist, because it opens up the opportunity and more people know about it. And I've been able to do that at places like having the Congressional Black Caucus involved in the conversation, African American Mayors Association, places like National Society of Black Engineers, and it goes on and on. But I think about the list, has been like longer than I could think about. But it's been, like I said, again, having this conversation and normalizing it, and also helping our community to understand how, like, where this is going and how we now need to get on a train to use cannabis as a tool to repair everything that is harmed. Over the past time is kind of what I would. That's kind of been my work in a nutshell.
Right, right. Which I commend you for. Like I really, really do. Because, like I said earlier, if you haven't started doing that work, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now, even have the opportunity to have done it. So I do thank you again for that. As you did speak a little bit about the barriers to somewhat gaining capital, do you believe? Well, how do you think that the safe passing of the Safe Banking Act at some point in time will affect that?
Absolutely. And this is my personal opinion. And I have this opinion because, so for one, I spent, I spent over 10 years working in finance, right? As a banker, as a bank manager, as a financial advisor, and all of that time being specifically focused on financial literacy, trying to educate our communities, trying to help our communities. So for one, I think more than anybody, I'm aware of the disparity that exists in Black folks' access to the banking system in general. But I'll say also, more than most now, as a cannabis business owner or somebody that's opening up who's had to raise capital for a cannabis business, that has to pay all different types has to do actual transactions as a cannabis business. To think about, all the things that are going to come from, taking payments. Just last week, a lot of dispensary stuff was shut down. Having access to banking will definitely improve the situation for Black business owners. And I'll tell you why. And although some people don't believe it, if we have some access to the banking system at all, it will help. When you go out and try to raise capital from like private investors or the people that are out there, and there's not a lot of options, most of the people are trying to figure out how to take your company and control of the company, because you don't have any, there's not really many other choices but to swim with the sharks. So especially our entrepreneurs that have less, right? So like when you look at minority communities, we have like less than 1/10 the wealth of our white counterparts. So having to go out and less access to private equity, investment bankers, all that stuff. So now if you want to start a cannabis business, you have to go and deal with that. If you want to start a business, how is that going to help us to be successful? Right. And then also all the existing cannabis business owners minority business owners that have to go through all the challenges to do business. So I think having access to the banking system will allow the opportunity for loans, for a business loan. Like if you want to go to, if you want to, if you need a loan for your business to raise capital, to be able to do banking transactions and not have to go through all different types of things. So that was a long answer to say that I think yes. And even though, having access to all the things that other small businesses and programs and lending and funding that having access to banking opens up, that opens up a whole nother set of opportunities, I believe. And also the banking bill that we have now with this restorative justice elements like expungements, and things like that, it has some reparative elements to it. So I'm of the camp that I think that that this incremental progress, like having banking, does a lot for people. We still need full legalization. We still need to free everybody that's been arrested for cannabis. But for cannabis business owners, African Americans in the industry included, banking helps and goes a long way.
Thank you. Thank you for those words. So just to go ahead and wrap it up, what's next for Tahir? What is on his plan? What is in the works? What do you got?
Well, next up, man, we're gonna get this dispensary open. In the final stages, trying to check all the boxes. We submit our conversion application, so I'm hoping that we can be open in March. Fingers crossed, in advance of 420, trying to have an amazing grand opening.
Yeah.
And keep doing the work, man. Like I said, now, showing people an example that it can be done, and try to keep opening up doors for more people. And man, I want to have the best dispensary in New Jersey, the best in the country, coming for everybody, coming for y'all.
Tell us again, where is the dispensary?
Yes. So everybody, you can come visit Simply Pure Trenton. We are in Ewing, New Jersey. Also, shout out to my boy John Dockery with the Simply Pure Downtown Trenton location. That's my boy since preschool. We both won 2 of the first 11 dispensary licenses here in New Jersey. And of course, shout out to the big homie Wanda James out there in Simply Pure, the mother in Colorado. So you can make sure y'all come to Simply Pure Trenton, but visit all the Simply Pure fans,
That is good. Where can we find you at on social media if we want to get in contact with you? How can they reach out to you?
For sure, man. So on LinkedIn and Facebook, you can find me by the government name, Tahir Johnson. And it's Tahdiddy everywhere else. The Twitter, the IG, even TikTok, man. I don't really TikTok like that, but it's Tahdiddy on there too.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there we have it. Mr. Tahdiddy himself, Mr. Tahir Johnson, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much.
My brother.
Appreciate it.
Peace.